Gainy Titan here, and welcome to a review of Elder Sign Omens. This is a board game that I have on my Steam library. I've got several of them, and I've gotten some of them, well, most of them actually, because I enjoyed the actual board game. So it's partly a commentary on the board game, and partly a commentary on the PC implementation, or the tablet implementation of that board game. So this is Elder Sign Omens, based off the Fantasy Flight game Elder Sign. And it plays very similarly. The only difference is this isn't multiplayer. There's no multiplayer option. You play all the investigators yourself, which is just as easy because there isn't actually a lot to do, or there isn't much that distinguishes the investigators. They do have attributes that affect the game, but the mechanics is pretty much the same. You pick an ancient one, and the first 4 ancient ones are almost identical to the actual board game in that. Well, in all of them, the mechanics are identical, but you must collect so many Elder Signs, 10 in the case of Yig, 13 in the case of Tastuga, or whatever, and so on. And you must complete those Elder Signs before the Doom track fills up. If the Doom track fills up, the old one arrives and you are devoured. That's the end of the world. You don't get to fight the old one, unlike, say, Arkham Horror, where you have a chance of fighting the old one off. The investigators are straight from the board game version, and they have the same quirks and abilities as far as I know as the board game version. So you start off, you pick your investigation team. They all have little elements described above, and they start off with certain items. The mechanics of the game are run by your conjuring up glyphs. These are dice in the actual board game, but in the computer version, they're basically taking a book metaphor, that you're using a book to conjure up summoning, and you need to acquire correct glyphs. You then proceed to the museum.
It's been a month since the great earthquake shook the Pacific Rim. While reports of the devastation...
That's just a sample of one of the intros. There are a couple of intros. The first 3, I think, 4 share the same intro. This one is the Cthulhu one, so it has a slightly different intro. You can skip the intro, of course, and then you can go straight on to the actual gameplay in the museum. This is your basic gameplay in the museum. You have a similar thing, I think, when the South Pacific opens up. I'll show you that anyway. So you have the entrance, and the entrance has... You can enter that. That's like an investigation, except it's your shop. You can heal. You can buy clues and common items and stuff like that, and there's a kind of Wheel of Fortune option where you can just take a risk of getting something random or an injury. On the injuries, each character has a health and a sand. The health is in red, the sanity is in blue. If you go to 0, you go insane or you die and you're out of the game. So aside from the entry here, we have 6 open investigations. One of them has a red and a yellow ring. This is a still from the image rather than a video footage. And one has a crescent moon. So the crescent moon is a midnight event, and they could generally be bad, and you generally want to get rid of them before midnight comes around. The red and yellow ring is an investigation where the green glyphs, the red and yellow glyphs are locked. That means they're unavailable, which reduces the probabilities. So you have normally 6 green glyphs to conjure, and they are the values that the green glyphs can take. 1 to 3, investigate, lore, peril, or terror. You also have the yellow and red glyphs. The yellow glyphs have a different arrangement of potential. You only get 1 of them usually, but there's a different arrangement of potential results. So there's no terror, there's just peril, lore, and investigate. Similarly, in the red one, you have a wildcard option, so that can be converted into any value that you want among the lore, peril, or terror investigate results. So you can see this when we actually enter into an investigation. You can look at the possibilities of the investigation by clicking it above here at top. So this investigation has 2 stages. There's the can be done in either order. They can't be done simultaneously unless your investigator has a special ability that allows that. So if we get a lore and a peril, the scroll and the skull, that will clear one of them. A lore will clear the other one, but will cost you some health. If you fail, see the bottom left, you lose 2 sanity and a health. If you succeed, you get 2 unique items and a spell, as well as 2 tokens Tokens can be spent in the entrance. These are the complete set of results that you can get. So you can get Elder Signs, which is the priority. You really want Elder Signs, and you want Elder Signs at the lowest amount of risk. Because one of the penalties that occurs in quite a few of these investigations is that they increase the doom. Sometimes you get Elder Signs and increase the doom. And it's a question of balancing the risk. Can you afford, if you fail, to have the doom go up? You can kind of in the early game, but you can pay for it in the long run, so you want to keep the doom as low as possible. Now we've put Sister Mary into the Visiting Antiquarian, and we prioritise it above the Midnight one, because Midnight's a bit away, but Sister Mary ignores locked glyphs. And this one is locking 2 glyphs. So she's the best chance of solving this investigation. And if she succeeds, she unlocks the glyphs for other players who have the unique items and spells that are necessary to conjure up these extra glyphs. However, her first conjuring is a failure, so now she has to discard a glyph in order to continue, which reduces, of course, the probability of succeeding, because you now have less possible glyphs. The space of possible glyphs you can conjure is gone down, and you have fewer glyphs to conjure with. But there's no way around it. The other option is to fail the adventure and take the physical damage and psychological damage that if you fail the adventure, or whatever else happens. So if it was a doom, now she throws away a glyph, but she focuses and keeps the skull result. So that gives her the ability to clear one part of the investigation. When you succeed in the part of the investigation, you don't lose any further glyphs, you only lose on failures. So she does a second conjuring, gets the necessary symbol, and completes that adventure. The adventure is then replaced by another adventure, and this one actually locks a green glyph. Green glyph locked, it's also a bad adventure, 3 health to failure, and an increase in the doom token with a glyph locked. And it also, of course, makes every other investigation more difficult to complete. So that's how the basic game works. You keep going around doing investigations until either the doom token fills up, the old one appears and you are devoured, all your investigators are dead or insane, or you have actually succeeded and you get the necessary number of Elder Signs in order to complete the investigation and prevent the rising of the old one. In the 2-part one involving Cthulhu, when you get 7 Elder Signs or more, in the we've gotten 8 here, and the Doom track's only been filled up with 2 spaces, so we've been quite fortunate. We only need to get to 11. We find ourselves in the South Pacific searching for Riley. The South Pacific game is pretty much the same as the base game. You're still going around doing investigations. You want to avoid bad things happening at midnight. Twilight rituals are always bad. But however, you have a different focus. At this stage, as far as I know, you don't get any Elder Signs in the investigations in the South Pacific. You're just trying to find Riley. So one of the things you can do in the ship, is that you can spend tokens that you gain from investigations and killing monsters. And spending those tokens, you can, so the 2 tokens that I got there, once you have certain multiples of those tokens, you can spend them to reduce the exploration number. So, if you look at the top right here, I'm circling a number, it's 30 at the moment. That's the number you need to get the exploration. The 3 things that I marked in the little amulet above it are the gems you need to be able to function on Riley, or at least to be able to use clues, common items, spells, or any of those things. So the yellow and red glyph, essentially, if you don't have those gems, and they can be found in some investigations. So these are what the different gems do, and that's what they lock when Riley is discovered. So if you don't have them, this is an adventure now below, has a reward potentially of a gem. I don't think you're guaranteed a gem, but you can get them. And a certain amount of the adventures, or a certain amount of the investigations are will give you them. And when you have completed all 3 gems, then you can pretty much function on Riley unrestricted. But the Riley adventure is a really tough one. It's ordered, it has a lot of results that you need to get, and you lose foresight if you fail. Other than that, the investigations are pretty much the same. You use clues, which I'm using here, to re-roll without losing glyphs, because it's always better to have more glyphs as possible. And you can select what you re-roll. You don't have to re-roll everything. Obviously, you want to keep results that are worth keeping. So that allows us to solve this particular one. So we get 2 tokens and an item that allows us to regenerate used green glyphs if we have forced to discard. This is the medical bay things, the same as in the entrance to the museum. And this is the exploration, so you can spend tokens for exploration as well. That will reduce the explorer number, and that's the only... some investigations will reduce the explorer number, but some investigations will add to the explorer number. Some midnight effects will add to the exploration number as well. So the exploration number could very rapidly go out of scope. So we've discovered Riley. The question is, are we ready to go in there? So as you can see, the Riley adventure is quite a tough one. It's ordered. There are 2 things to be done at each stage. And if you're already relying on the green glyphs, it's probably not doable. Now, the reward will win you the game. But failure will probably kill most investigators. 4 sanity loss. Some of them don't have that much sanity to start with. So here, for example, Ginny Barnes doesn't have any special items, so she doesn't have anything that will assist her in investigating Riley. She doesn't have any spare sanity to survive the experience, and neither does Lily Chin at the moment. But Lily can swap physical and mental stats, therefore we can upgrade her to the point where we can survive it. This investigator doesn't have the base sanity to survive Riley anyway, but she has the items necessary to do the adventure. So it is worth the risk, I think, of putting her in. And we have the scrolls. So that's the lore result got. So now we need the terror, which we've got. We've got a skull, which we can keep. Peril. And we get the second peril, and we have actually succeeded. So, game over. So overall, we've saved the world. It's a nice little game. The board game is a nice game. I actually think this is better than the board game, because I think there's nothing that the multiplayer really adds to the board game. There is a certain amount of luck involved, but you also have to play smart. You have to avoid triggering doom too much. You have to be careful about and calculated about who you send in. You even have to think a little bit about the team you're going to select, depending on what old one you have in mind. And it's a nice little tablet game. You know, if you have time to kill, you're on your way somewhere, you're traveling or whatever, and you know you're going to have time to kill, and you don't particularly feel like reading or watching a movie, or maybe you don't have internet access. I think this is a good little game. It's the purpose I got it for. And I have a few more of them, some of which I'll probably review here as well. Just as good little tablet games to have. I've noticed this recent Steam page update that it's now available on the iOS as well, or the latest version of the iOS. So I think if you pick it up in a Steam sale, I think it wouldn't set you back all that much. I can't remember how much I paid for it. I haven't looked at the current price. So thank you for watching. I hope you found the video interesting and you enjoyed it. Please give it a like if you did. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. And that's it for now. I'll catch you all again soon. Bye.